heavily rely on the police force and definitely not on government, because the level of corruption in government will not allow government to solve this problem. They don't want to. So the individual watching this, I want to encourage them that we are winning the fight, but we need more. We need an army. We need an uprising. We need men to start taking accountability and say, hey, I'm not going to any longer engage in pornography. I've now learned that porn is a drug that feeds demand and it ultimately ends up in children being exploited. So I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to talk to my brothers, my friends in my community. We're going to hyper-localize this thing and we're going to fight it. And people can do that. Every single soccer mom today can pay attention and learn what to look for and how to protect other people's children. Let's get to a place where it's not just about my kids, but I want to keep every girl and boy in my community safe. I want to fight for every other father's child, like I want them to fight for my child. That way, we're going to end this thing.
I'm not sure that child sexual abuse can ever be fully mitigated, but certainly the war on pedophilism is a worthy task. And again, this is why me, Nita, Skywatch TV, Defender Publishing, it's why our charity is Whispering Ponies Ranch, because we believe that kids can be rescued. Once rescued, they can be rehabilitated. And it's probably the most worthy cause on earth. Don't forget this, that when Jesus Christ returns and judges the religious organizations, what's called the judgment of the sheep and the goats, right? He literally discusses how he is going to make that judgment. And it's very simple. It's all interpersonal. He says, I was hungry and you gave me meat. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was sick and in prison and you visited me. And then he says, inasmuch as you've done these things to the least of these my little ones, you've done it unto me. And then he says, welcome, enter thou into the joys of the Lord. Then he turns to this other group, the goats, and he says to them, I was hungry and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was sick and in prison. You did not visit me. He says, inasmuch as you did not do these things to the least of these my little ones, you did not do it unto me. Depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. And the scary thing is, the people that he's talking to, they say, but wait a minute, Lord. Look at all these great things we did in your name. So he's talking to religious people. But then he answers and he says, but I never knew you. So you can do all kinds of things. Maybe pastor a giant church and preach to a large audience or whatever. Have a television program like we do. But unless at the end of the day, you are ministering to the least of those his little ones in these very, very personal ways, you really need to stop and think about what you could do. And you can't imagine anything more least of these my little ones than a child rescued from sexual abuse. It doesn't get any more personal than that. That's the war. We can take it to the abusers, and we may not be able to save everybody, but we can save a lot of them. And that's a worthy task by which I personally think all of us are going to be judged.
You know, it's amazing. We tend to think change comes from the top down. As it turns out, change is in the individual. It's in you, it's in me. That inspires others around us. That can spread across communities, states, countries, really across the whole world. So we can stop this problem. But it means that we first have to change something in ourselves. And you might wonder, well, what do I have to change? I'm not involved in this. Exactly. You're not involved in it. You're not doing anything. I was in that same boat. I was doing nothing to help. So whether we like it or not, all of us are a part of this. And if we do nothing, then that's exactly where these pedophiles want us. By doing nothing, it's like we're expecting these kids to just rescue themselves. It's like we think they're gonna just escape on their own and then we don't have to think about it, but that is just a fantasy. That's not reality. These kids, they're not gonna be able to save themselves. It's up to you, it's up to me. And the truth is, child sex trafficking and the Satanism around it, that's increasing. That's getting worse. So if you're watching this, like it or not, you now know more than most people in the country about the evil that's going on all around us. So there's only one last question. What are you going to do now?
While our children continue to utter a single unified silent cry, we must now make the choice to start listening. We must choose to not allow dark forces and demonic agents to steal the innocence of our children. We must choose to keep our eyes open through the sting of the smoke until it dissipates and the flame is reignited. We can enjoy the freedoms and pleasures of this country along with our children, enjoying the safety of a culture that values innocence above wealth, where there is no demand for the destruction of a child's spirit. We can choose to create this world for our children. How should we measure the innocence of a child's life? The answer is obvious. It is infinite. As long as innocence is nurtured and allowed to prosper, there is no end to the treasures and blessings it can produce. Somewhere in the future, there exists a world where children have no knowledge of the evils and perversions a depraved adult mind can produce. The only question is, when will we finally decide to build it?